Hey, it's Michael from Trimline. Today I want to talk to you about reinvesting the profits that your business earns wisely. I'm assuming that you've actually made profits for this quarter, and getting profitable is a huge part of what I help my clients with. But this is assuming that we've had a profitable quarter and we need to think about where to invest this profit in the business. All right, let's dive into it. So this is a really simple template that I can link below so you can use it for yourself, but it's examining all of the potential ways you could deploy this leftover capital after the quarter is finished. There's a few strategies I use to help people make sure they have enough cash at the end of the quarter, because a common question I get is, I was profitable for this month or quarter, but where is the cash? I use a really simple buckets strategy that you'll see there's a separate video on that I've done to make sure you're putting aside cash for these key purposes. But this is assuming that you've had a profitable quarter and we can actually start to think about how to use this. So there's a few different ways you can deploy this, and I would suggest using a balance of them. Depending on the needs of the business and where you're at on the growth curve, you might be, prioritizing one over another. So this is kind of a decision you make each quarter, and you think about this strategically. You don't just chop and change, and please don't just have a great quarter and feel rich and take all the money out of your business as a dividend. Really common thing I see, and definitely not a great idea. You need to leave cash in the business to build its working capital and make sure you've got enough for the business to survive on into the future. So here are some ideas for where you could put these funds. Reinvesting back into the business. If you're in a high growth stage, owners might be like, you know what, 100% is going back in there. I'm not taking any cash out of this business. But even if you think you need to leave 100% back in the business, there's other key areas you also need to be kind of thinking about. For example, you need to have some there to pay down your tax debts, if you have any of those, or if you've got some interest on the bank loan. Think about having some funds set aside to chip away at that kind of stuff. Some people have incentive plans or profit share with staff. You need to be putting aside some of those funds into a different bucket as well, and make sure you're considering that. Dividends is obviously the most common goal for a lot of founders and owners. It's all about working out what percentage can you draw out of the business as dividends and what percentage do you need to leave in. So a really simple split for some people will be that at the end of the quarter, you might take 50% of those profits as a dividend. You leave the other 50% in the business for other purposes. So this is a really simple template to work out how much you're going to put to what. Perhaps you don't have a staff incentive plan, so you can make that zero. Perhaps you don't have any tax debts or debts you're running purely on the working capital of your business. You put that to zero, and then you know what? You can do a 50-50 split there of those profits. The other thing that I want you to think about is actually what you're going to do with that business when you're reinvesting it back into the business. I don't want you to just start wasting it on frivolous things. You want to make sure you're getting good return on your investment, whether that's increasing your ad spend, whether that's investing for the future strategic growth of the business. Actually try and think about what's that dollar going to bring in, because the goal of business is trying to, rub $1 together and make $2. So you got to work out what that dollar spend is going to bring you back. So that's a really simple template. I'll link it down below for you to have a play around with and start to think about strategically where you're putting your cash, and think about that from an investment perspective. Don't just fritter it away and then the following quarter you don't know where it is. Finally, I want to recommend a really great book from Greg Crabtree called Simple Numbers. And here are some 5 forces of cash flow that he recommends that I think of is really solid advice and you should think about as well. So this is making reinvestments into the business at 50% return on investment. So that's thinking about an investor in your own business. For all those leftover profits, what are you doing with it to get a return in the future? Setting aside some for your tax liability. So that's the tax savings debt repay. I have a simple bucket strategy I use with my clients that helps them set aside funds to pay their tax bill at quarter and year end. So let me know if you want to chat about that. Repay line of credits, which I have above as well. This is a really critical one from his book that I really think that small business owners don't think about enough. Make sure you're building up capital reserves in your business. You need 2 to 3 to maybe 6 months of reserves left over in your business, just in case things go wrong. And everyone thinks they don't need it until things go wrong. But if you run out of cash, you're out of business. So this is something I do with all of my clients, and we try and build that up slowly, quarter by quarter, with each profit distribution, put a little bit away into that fund, into that treasure chest, to make sure we're building some capital reserves and some backup funds in the business. And then obviously pay dividends. That's the whole point of being a business. We want to be seeing a financial return. So that's part of it, but it's not 100%. And that's a really key takeaway, what I want you to think. All right, thanks for watching. I hope you got some value from this. I'll see you on the next one.